At this moment, a deep voice came from within. "Let him in." The young boy pouted and said, "Master is calling you in. Follow me." The stone monkey followed the young boy into the cave dwelling and saw an old man with a white beard sitting on a high platform with many young disciples standing on either side listening to him preach. The stone monkey stepped forward, bowed and said, "Greetings, great immortal." The young boy said, "This is our patriarch Bodhi. Kneel quickly." The patriarch waved his hand and said, "Never mind. Let me ask you, where are you from and why have you come here?" The stone monkey clasped his hands together and replied, "Disciple is from the water curtain cave of Flower Fruit Mountain in the land of Aolai, East Victory Continent. I have come to seek immortality and learn the Tao." To his surprise, the patriarch became angry and said, "Someone throw him out." The young disciples on either side came and started to drag the stone monkey out. The stone monkey struggled and shouted, "Let go of me! I truly am from there." The patriarch waved his dust whisk and said, "Let him go! You say you are from the East Victory Continent, but that land is thousands of miles away from here, with a vast ocean in between. How did you come here alone?" The stone monkey replied respectfully, "Disciple traveled here on a raft, drifting across the sea." The patriarch nodded and asked, "Oh, then what is your name?" The stone monkey thought for a moment and said, "Disciple has no father or mother, no surname or given name." The patriarch shook his head and said, "Nonsense. Everyone has parents. How could you not have any?" The stone monkey said, "To tell the patriarch the truth, I sprang from a stone. Please bestow a name upon me." The patriarch said, "Stand up and walk a few steps for me to see." The stone monkey walked a few steps, and the patriarch said, "The way you walk, you look like a monkey that eats pine nuts. I'll give you the surname Sun." The stone monkey joyfully said, "Thank you, patriarch." The patriarch then asked, "You traveled thousands of miles to come here. What is it that you seek?" The stone monkey said, "Disciple seeks immortality and to learn skills." The patriarch laughed and said, "Seeing your sincerity, I will take you in. Rise." The stone monkey happily said, "Thank you, patriarch." The patriarch thought for a moment and said, "Now that you have a surname, you need a given name. In the ranking of my disciples, you belong to the Wu generation, so I will call you Wukong. Wukong, Sun Wukong. Wonderful. I have a name now. I have a name now." Wukong was so happy that he jumped up and down. But the patriarch's face darkened, and he said, "Wukong, since you have entered my gate, you must follow my rules. Otherwise, I will punish you. Do you understand?" Wukong quickly said, "Disciple understands." The patriarch nodded and said, "Good, you may go." From then on, Wukong stayed in the cave dwelling, discussing scriptures and practicing martial arts with the patriarch every day. 6 or 7 years passed in the blink of an eye. One day, the patriarch gathered his disciples together to preach. Before long, Wukong started dancing with joy. The patriarch frowned and asked, "Wukong, what are you doing now?" Wukong quickly sat down and said, "Disciple was so moved by the profound teachings that I couldn't help but dance." The patriarch asked, "Wukong, how many years have you been here?" Wukong replied, "Disciple does not know the exact number of years, but I remember that the peach blossoms on the mountain have bloomed and withered 7 times, and I have enjoyed the fruits 7 times." The patriarch said, So it has been 7 years. What skills do you wish to learn? Wukong said, Disciple wishes to learn the art of immortality. The patriarch said, Then I will teach you meditation and Zen practice. How about that? Wukong asked, Will it grant immortality? The patriarch shook his head and said, No. I won't learn it. I won't learn it, said Wukong. The patriarch asked, Then I will teach you divination and the art of seeking divine guidance. How about that? Wukong asked, Will it grant immortality? The patriarch said, No! I won't learn it. I won't learn it, said Wukong. The patriarch asked again, Then I will teach you the skills of military strategy and formation. Will that do? Wukong asked again, Will it grant immortality? The patriarch, becoming impatient, said, No. Then I won't learn it. I won't learn it. Wukong shook his hand. The patriarch became very angry and scolded, You mischievous monkey! You refuse to learn this or that. You deserve a beating. Saying this, he picked up an iron ruler and hit Wukong's palm 3 times, then walked away with his hands behind his back. The disciples all blamed Wukong. It's all your fault, monkey, for making the master angry. Look, he left without finishing the lesson. Wukong made a face and said, Go away! Go away! You don't understand anything. The disciples were annoyed and left in a huff. Wukong counted on his fingers and pondered, 3 hits, hands behind his back. Suddenly, he seemed to understand something and laughed heartily. That night, Wukong lay in bed, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. At midnight, he got up quietly and sneaked into the patriarch's room. The patriarch was sleeping on his side, facing inward. Wukong did not dare to disturb him, so he quietly knelt by the bed. After a while, the patriarch turned over and saw Wukong kneeling there. He asked, Why are you here in the middle of the night instead of sleeping? Wukong said, Master, you called me here. The patriarch pretended to ask, How did I call you? Wukong said, 3 hits mean you called me to come at the 3rd watch of the night when no one is around. With hands behind your back means I should come in through the back door. Disciple does not dare to disobey master's orders. Hearing this, the patriarch laughed heartily, got up and sat down, saying, You monkey, you are indeed clever. This shows you are destined to be my disciple. I will teach you some true skills. Upon hearing this, Wukong quickly kowtowed and said, Thank you, master. The patriarch smiled and said, Get up. Immortality is nothing special. I have 2 kinds of magic arts here. One is the 36 transformations, and the other is the 72 transformations. Which one do you want to learn? Wukong knelt again and said, Disciple wishes to learn the one with more transformations. The patriarch nodded and said, All right, I will teach you the 72 transformations. You must study diligently and not be lazy. Wukong said, Master, please rest assured. The patriarch said, Come closer. The patriarch whispered the incantations for the magic arts to Wukong and instructed him, This must be kept secret. Heaven knows, earth knows, you know, and I know. If anyone else finds out, I will expel you. Do you understand? Wukong said, Disciple will strictly keep the secret and not let others know. The patriarch nodded and said, All right, you may go. Wukong thanked the master and left the room. From then on, Wukong would quietly practice the 72 transformations in secret whenever he had free time. Another 3 years passed, and Wukong had mastered the 72 transformations. One day, the patriarch called Wukong to a secluded place and asked, how have you been practicing the 72 transformations I taught you? Wukong said, Disciple will demonstrate for master. Please advise. Wukong then performed a series of transformations. The patriarch stroked his beard and nodded, smiling, Not bad, not bad. How about your ability to ride the clouds? Wukong said, Disciple has mastered cloud riding. With that, he somersaulted into the air, spun around, flipped several times, and then landed back down. The patriarch laughed heartily and said, You only rise 5 or 6 jiang above the ground and travel no more than 2 or 3 li. This is hardly riding the clouds, more like climbing the clouds. Climbing the clouds? Wukong asked. Then what is true cloud riding? The patriarch said, True cloud riding allows one to ascend to the 9th heaven and travel 10,000 li in a day, roaming the 9 provinces and the 4 seas. Wukong was overjoyed, scratching his ears in excitement, and quickly knelt down, saying, Please teach me, master. The patriarch smiled and said, All right, today I am in a good mood, so I will teach you a cloud riding technique. I notice you always somersault before moving, so I will teach you the somersault cloud. How far can one somersault take me? Wukong asked. The patriarch slowly said, 108,000 li. Great, great, I will learn this, Wukong said, dancing with joy. The patriarch then taught Wukong the incantation for the somersault cloud, and Wukong knelt down to thank him. One day, Wukong was practicing martial arts with his fellow disciples. He watched one break bricks with his bare hands and smirked. He saw another's light-footed technique and shook his head. One disciple, feeling indignant, said, Wukong, it's said that Master taught you his best skills. Show us a couple of tricks to open our eyes. Wukong laughed and said, What's so hard about that? Tell me, what do you want me to do? The disciple said, I think you should turn into a pine tree. All right, just watch. Wukong put his right hand on his hip, pointed with his left hand and shouted, Transform! He indeed turned into a pine tree, standing tall on the ground. The fellow disciples were amazed and cheered. Well done, Wukong! What a great skill!